Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Power of Pathways podcast. My name is Kimberly Brown. I'm joined by Jennifer Made, Andre Maglione, and Robyn Ince. And today we will be talking about all things FAFSA. Are you guys ready to talk about FAFSA in Newark?
Sure thing.
Always. Yes. We are all ready to talk about FAFSA. My name is Jennifer Made, and I'm the director of the youth programs at the Abbott Leadership Institute. ALI was founded 23 years ago to develop informed and effective advocates for Newark Public Schools by empowering parents, students, educators, and community advocates with information about public school reform, knowledge on effective methods of family engagement in schools, and more.
All right, so can we start with the introductions first? Andre and Robyn, feel free to introduce yourselves, share a little bit of background of what you do, where you work, and the work that you're doing with FAFSA.
Okay, so I am thankful to be here. My name is Robyn Ince. I am the executive director of the Newark City of Learning Collaborative, and our whole goal is to really take a collective impact approach to increase the number of people in Newark with a college degree or a credential. And we do that in partnerships with organizations like yours and others across the city, including schools and also the city of Newark itself. One thing that I would think about as we are going into this FAFSA season is really how we can engage families and students in a way that they feel empowered to take full advantage of all the funding that is available to them. And we know it's going to take a number of initiatives, one of which we're working on now is really working closely with HESAA to find out what the changes of FAFSA are going to be for this season, and then also how to get people really engaged in completing that all-important FSA ID.
Yes. Okay, so hi, good afternoon. I'm Andre Maglione. I'm with New Jersey Higher Education Student Assistance Authority, HESAA. I'm the Associate Director of Outreach, Student Financial Aid Services, so basically support the entire state of New Jersey, fulfill the mission of HESAA, to make sure that they have all the information they can, they understand everything. We demystify the whole financial aid process to all the residents who are sending kids out to college so that they can take advantage of as much free money as possibly can. I have a great job. I give away free money every single day, so very exciting. And to be here is great too as well, but really, in the 24-25 financial aid year, was really had to dig in because of the new FAFSA. Helping families, helping our partners, especially in Newark, to make sure that all these students can get through the process. There's no roadblocks. We can lift those roadblocks and get them through the process. And that was important to me and HESAA, so it was great.
Mm-hmm. I have a quick question before we move on. Is it HESAA or HESAA?
It is HESAA.
Okay.
Even though everyone says HESAA.
So thank you all for being here and joining us. The Department of Education dropped a new FAFSA December 31st of 2023. Mm-hmm. And there were so many, even with all the protocols and procedures that they attempted to put in place and tried, they tried, there were still so many bugs that we were not foreseen. And, Andre, your team, incredible team, shout out to Andre's team.
Yes.
You guys were an instrumental partner with the college, the ALI College Success Centers on our Newark FAFSA tour. So I wanted to, first of all, thank you for your help. But second of all, what were some of the most challenging, and this is a question for you both, what were some of the most challenging or most common challenges that arose with that new FAFSA that came out the last day of 2023?
Do you want to start or want me to start? You got it?
I think I'll let you start.
Okay, well, I got to be honest, I was out with Robyn well prior to the release of the FAFSA in Washington, D.C. at an NCAN conference. And, they showed us the FSA ID, the FAFSA, the new FAFSA. Everyone was so excited. I was excited. And, we saw some glitches there and, that kind of stuff. And which were expected, right, because it was brand new and a whole different way of actually completing a FAFSA. I've been doing this since 1982 when there were no computers. It was all paper FAFSAs. And then, of course, eventually migrated. But with that new FAFSA came issues with the way they constructed it, the way maybe it wasn't tested the way it should have been tested. Mm-hmm. So we found those glitches. And I know, like Ron, I was very excited about it. I think I said, we'll have no problems. She thought maybe there would be problems, and she was right. And there were. And I was glad I stepped in so early, and we were right involved, and we really integrated the communities to get them trained, and get all these students through the process. And we did a great job. But there were FSA ID problems, which we could talk about, and for especially undocumented parents, and the FAFSA, students inviting their parent and invitations being sent, but yet parents couldn't access the FAFSA form, which then would have prevented that FAFSA from being submitted. And of course, we had some parents that had to submit paper FAFSAs. They were instructed by the U.S. Department of Education helpline, hey, listen, you're really stuck. You're going to have to do a paper FAFSA. You do a paper FAFSA in January, beginning of January, and then it doesn't get processed till sometime in June. It created some roadblocks for students because they needed to know what they're going to get in student aid. So I think we were resilient, especially in Newark, to really come together and train and work together and support each other. So I think we did a great job. I think the percentages that we had in Newark completing the FAFSA were really fantastic.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think in spite of all of the different challenges that came with the switching of the FAFSA to sort of a different technology platform without the time horizon to adequately test it, Newark was continued to do very, very well in FAFSA completion. And again, I think it's because of all the support and the work of the state, of local partners, and of the schools in the district.
Yeah.
Newark, across the entire city, has a FAFSA completion rate of 67%. NCLC tracks it through the end of September. That 67% completion rate was as of September 20th, and it's higher than the state, and it's higher than the nation. So that was really impressive. I think the amount of hurdles that had to be navigated are ones that we hope not to have to really address this year. And we hope that and we are already taking what we learned from last year and applying it to how FAFSA nights are held, how early they happen, what kind of supports need to be within the FAFSA nights and FSA nights as well. So that's important. But there were a lot of concerns. Thank you for reminding me of that July conference. I try to put it behind me. Yeah. But the FAFSA in July 2023 was launched as the better FAFSA. And I always have a theory that if someone calls something the thing, it's not necessarily the thing. They want us to think about that. So it was really challenging. And again, I think it's because there was a major back-end technological change that happened that just did not have the time horizon to test it out to make sure it worked. In addition to changing some of the terminology that had been long understood. So, FSA ID was something new. Changing what's the SAR report to?
Oh, well, the student summary, the FAFSA submission summary was, changed the name, so it's a little confused, especially for renewal students.
Yes, and because we have, school counselors and other people who've been doing this for years, and they know the terminology that had been used, flipping all that at the last moment during a really high stakes thing like I need money to go to school didn't really allow for the learning horizon that needed to exist. So if we could have done anything, it would have been a year of minimally of testing not only the infrastructure, but also testing terminology changes, how information is presented, and whether or not it makes sense for a young person to start the process, push a button, have an email go to their parent, who then has to have that email land in the inbox, be able to find the email in the inbox, and then complete the process. Those were stages that were introduced in this new process that I think really, really minimally created a lot of confusion.
Jennifer, can you share a little bit of information about the FAFSA tours and the College Success Center team?
Yeah, so the Newark FAFSA tour aimed to enhance completion rate as well in the City of Newark. But it was a little bit different, and I'm glad that Robyn spoke a lot about, what some of the better things that we should do, or things that could have happened or should. Because the Newark FAFSA tour was strategically designed to go to where parents and students feel comfortable, which is their schools. They go to their schools all the time. They're there. It's a safe environment for them at most part. And we were able to get a couple of participating schools trained, about 23 community members who they have seen or known with Andre and his team. And we went over the new FAFSA a few times to make sure that everyone was properly trained. And any of the challenges that could have rose or did actually arise, we were well prepared to handle them, because in the first session was more of Andre and his team going over what the changes are for the family and the community, and also starting that FSAID process. So that was the first session. The main goal was to start that process, get that ready, and make sure that if we can't complete the FAFSA on the first day, cool. But the first initial thing is making sure that you are aware of what you need, what's the new FAFSA, and how do we complete this FSAID today, right? And then we also provided dinner for everyone, which was a plus.
Yes.
And then we had childcare for those parents who might have other children, so they're not distracted. Also, they don't feel the pressure of having to manage other children and also manage this new thing that can sometimes be intimidating to families, especially families who do not speak English. So we tried to eliminate all of the barriers that could possibly come in those two sessions. And then the second session, sometimes Andre's team would come, but they trained us so well that the second session we can handle ourselves, which is just completing what needs to be completed and submitting the FAFSA with the students. Most of the time, they got it done in the first session, but if they needed to come back for any corrections, we had enough time in between the first and the second session. We typically did it between 2 and 3 weeks. So if one session was February 1st, the next session would be February 21st in that school or that location, so that we are able to assist with any errors that might come up. If there were any issues, or to complete the FAFSA if you needed some time to figure out any other things, or if you needed to get any paperwork, or if anything was happening, that we were able to address it in that second session. So it really went really well, and I'm really happy of the numbers that we have. I think we assisted about a little over 200 students to complete their FAFSA in that short period of time, and we partnered with 6 schools.
Thank you for sharing. Kudos to your amazing team. I know you helped a lot of students. I think it was really important to meet them where they are, basically creating a space that is easily accessible to parents. And I think the childcare part was very, very,
it was actually used very well. I didn't, kudos to the ALI model that teaches us that, because I didn't really necessarily think that in a FAFSA challenge you would need childcare, but it's so needed, and it was used. It was used, and it was helpful to the parent to not have to stress twice. So it was helpful.
Yeah, people don't tend to think about the parent and all of the stress and pressure, especially for undocumented students, first generation students who their parents have never seen these documents. So Robyn, my question to you is also, with your initiatives, do you see a lot of input and response from parents too, and how are they supporting your initiatives and supporting their children?
Oh yes, much like the work that ALI has done, we do community-facing events through our Newark Goes to College initiative, which is largely in partnership with Newark Public Library and the various branches around the particular wards. And so intentionally going into the communities and having our FAFSA nights in the evenings at the various libraries that have the technology in order for people to do the FAFSA. And with those, we do it sort of intentionally, in that we work to see what nights are being held by ALI, what nights might be held by Mr. Brown and his organization, so that there isn't redundancy. What worked really well last year, as we build out our calendar of events across the city, being able to capture events that other organizations are doing and then push them out to the schools, is that we were finding that some students may have started doing the work at an ALI FAFSA night, didn't complete it, and the guidance counselor was able to then tell them to come over to the library branch and have it completed, and vice versa. If we couldn't complete, we could have them sort of breadcrumb, if you will, over to the ALI FAFSA nights, College Success Center FAFSA nights, or to the events that Mr. Brown's organization, HSEF, are holding. In each of our events where Andre or a member of Andre's team comes to present content, what we do find is parents are involved, and we also get multiple generations in those libraries.
And the translator was great to have.
Yes, and we bring in translation as well. And so through a partnership with Rutgers University, Newark's Lives in Translation, we are able to get college students who are trained to provide translation services to come into those FAFSA nights and largely provide Spanish and or Portuguese translation, but we have the capacity to go beyond that, as does the district, to have the capacity to translate into languages. Those sort of things make a difference. Even the point about having the children there, a lot of the libraries, we don't necessarily, well, in some of the libraries, the benefit of that is that there's a children's room that's open. So if the family wants to, the child can go to the children's room while they're doing the FAFSA. And at other points where we don't have that option, we just work to ensure that the whole family feels seen and supported in what's taking place. And that might be bringing in just activities for the children to do. But translation services make a difference. Having those FAFSA nights in the community through the library partnership has made a difference as well. And so,
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. And I agree that, you know, having a space for children and just involving them in the library, you know, the libraries are amazing community places, and one in each ward. So
I just want
good
to,
way.
and the other thing I want to add to that, the great thing for NCLC about having the whole family there is that it's not too early to start thinking about what you want to do after high school, right? One of those options is college, and it's not too late to think about going back to high school. And so in some of the events, we've had parents who have asked about how to be able to go back to, I said high school, go back to college or to finish college. That's come from their being at these events to support their high schooler. And then likewise, I remember one event we had where we had a 12-year-old who actually asked a question within the FAFSA night that her mother was attending, and it was a spot-on question, and we were able to really help her as well. So it really goes to our particular perspective that, like I said, it's never too early to start and it's never too late.
And to piggyback off that, I know a couple parents reached me afterwards at a couple of library events where they, you know, grabbed our literature about, like, you know, adult learners, which was really great because they were thinking about going back, and they're like, wow, all this money's available. So, and for these programs, it was really nice.
And one other thing we do is bring in our various university partners to conduct some of the financial aid workshops and or college access information as well, pulling in from sort of our constellation of about 8 university partners that are across the state.
Yeah, and I'm real lucky as well. You know, I have a small staff that has to support the entire state, but we have our partnerships with our universities, professionals in financial aid that can help us and can deploy themselves to help out in the communities, which is really nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And, you know, talking about parents and made me think about FSA IDs when parents went to school at once upon a time, or if they went to college at all and did the FAFSA way back when. So they have a FSA ID, and restarting that sometimes became a special circumstance. And so we had a lot of students with special circumstances and special challenges. Yes. So I want to talk a little bit about and ask you both, can you tell us any special circumstances that occurred, something that you still remember, and how can we prevent those special circumstances from occurring moving forward?
Well, I'll tell you one that was most surprising that actually might pull up, you know, negative memories for Andre, but the whole notion of when you create an FSA ID and input the address, and the fact that if the student puts the address in as 1234 street spelled out, but the parent puts it in as 1234 abbreviated ST, that in and of itself causes a problem. So that unbelievable, and one wouldn't think that, but that could be a delay. So that was one that was very surprising to me. I have other ones that were more stark. But
I mean, like Robyn, that was a really big one. I mean, why would that need to be identical? I mean, I've had cases where an extra space would prevent a parent from being able to see that and move on and complete a FAFSA for a child. I mean, look, but going forward though, I mean, I've been on a lot of calls with FSA virtually every single week. They've been really, really responding to the issues. And, the call center was a problem at 1-800 for Fed Aid. They're adding 800, I think they've added 800 folks, and they've expanded the languages that they can help with. So they're doing a lot of great things, but yes, you're right.
Yeah.
The students from 24-25 year that are in college right now did experience a lot of problems, but I think that they are working so diligent in remedying all that, especially with the beta in Newark. I was so lucky to work with Mr. Pullins over at the Newark Board of Ed to make sure that we got Newark in the beta, because they're getting their FSAs done early, they're going to get their FAFSAs done early, we're going to see what's happening. We're going to get them processed, and hopefully with less issues than last year. And they were. Like, I know your own son,
yes,
with the year 2000 he was born in, was a problem.
Yeah. The field, he was reapplying for financial aid, and the field for his birth year is 2000. There was something about that field and how it was configured that didn't allow him to push the button to submit, and he was kind of caught in that loop for 3 months, just pushing the button to submit. And this is where yes, we're in the family with each other, but this is where shoulder-to-shoulder support makes a huge difference, because as someone in his early 20s who expects to just fill out this form really quickly and push a button, the frustration of being in this inexplicable loop for 3 months would have been enough for him to just say, forget it, right? Because I'm working with him in relationship, which is what a lot of our partners do. It's really what Andre does when people call him. He was able to just sort of stay the course. And when that issue got resolved, because we were able to bring it up to Andre, who was able to to the state, and then the state was able to advise us of how to go about getting in touch with the federal government, it became an issue that actually was flagged for the technology people to fix on a federal level. It was listed as one of the national issues. So I said to my son, I said, you're famous, and we have to continue to do this because we have to solve the problem to help other folks. And so at the end of March, it got solved. Luckily, blessedly, it's been resolved within his financial aid package as well, which was delayed, but it did come out. But it was something as simple as having the birth year 2000. That locked it up. But I think something to tease out here is where it's really beneficial that we have these kind of partnerships, because the work that ALI is doing in the high schools, the work that NCLC is doing as we go into the high school every once in a while, as we do things in the community, allow us to hear about issues and challenges, Andre's team as well, and then those issues and challenges can be shared with the state that can work to solve it, and with the federal government that can work to solve it. So it's not something that only happens on the ground. We're working to lift up that information in the state and nationally so that it can be fixed for our folks here, but it can also work to help people in other communities as well. Something as simple as the 800 number, when I did call it in February, we did not have to sit on the phone for a full hour. We were able to determine that the hours that the phone lines were open weren't sufficient, and the number of days of the week weren't sufficient. That's something I shared with the state, and in sharing it with the state, I don't know if it was because of what we said, but what we found out was a couple of weeks later, they actually had longer hours and they had weekend hours. Right? So we were able to then, as we're talking to families who might be frustrated at a FAFSA night, to say, you can get through and there are additional hours and translation supports, right, that make a difference.
Yeah, those lines were definitely helpful when I had issues with certain students who had special circumstances. For example, we had a lot of special circumstances in terms of undocumented students. That's a whole nother ball game.
Yes.
And we also had a lot of students who parents just don't know how to manage the technology. So not having an email, so they are literally like, they're and it becomes frustrating to them because they don't understand. They're not technology savvy, so it becomes like frustrating to the parent.
Yes.
Because they can't help their student. We found a lot of that, and it was at a point therapy for us as the staff and the team to just calm the parent down and not to get frustrated, because it is a frustrating process. And seniors and returning college students and just everyone was very frustrated with the process of FAFSA this year. And the goal is for next year to not have any, or this school year, to not have any of those issues at all. And I know how frustrating it was just for some parents, particularly on the technology side. And then on the undocumented side, that became a whole disaster for the first couple of months.
Well, the good news is this year at the state, we launched already October the 1st, the New Jersey alternative application for undocumented students. So already in our system, we probably have a good 30 or 40 applications already in, which we're very excited about. And shortly thereafter, we should start seeing FAFSAs, hopefully through the Newark beta testing. So I think we're making a lot of great progress this upcoming year. We're going to look back and say, wow, we did it, and we did great on completions. The state of New Jersey in the top 10 again, even against other states that require the FAFSA. I mean, we didn't require the FAFSA. Now we will this upcoming year for high school seniors. So I was very excited to be there in the top 10, with those other states that did require. So very exciting for us. And for HESAA, just to be there and make sure that these families are taking advantage of that free money, because it eliminates student loans. And that's the key to the whole thing is, right, make sure you access as much free money as you can so that you can minimize or eliminate any federal student loans or student loans in general.
Yeah, and completing the FAFSA also turnkeys to scholarships. So there are a number of scholarships that are available, private and university ones and state, that need that FAFSA completed in order to be able to draw down or apply for the scholarship. So it unlocks a lot of the financing that's necessary.
Yes, so thank you for sharing all of your challenges across the board. Jennifer, we at NYCP, we know that the system is very challenging for our seniors, and we've implemented the next steps process for our seniors so that, for you guys that don't know, that's Jennifer and her crew are working with the students, making sure that they have a next step plan, and part of that is the completion of the FAFSA. So Jen, if you can just, step one, explain that a little bit, and then if both of you can also then chime in, given the fact that we know that this is very difficult for first-time students that are completing the FAFSA, how are we also tackling the returning students, the college students, and letting them know that all of these changes are taking place, given the fact that financial aid departments are delayed, and and there's just a bunch of students that are pretty much stressed out at the beginning of the semester. So how are we tackling the new students versus the ongoing and continuing students as well?
So I'm going to talk about the NYCP Next Steps. So the Next Steps form and counseling is the ALI College Success Center team using the model and making sure that every senior that is a part of NYCP to have a next step. So we have next step counseling days with each senior. We go through a series of questions. We go through workshops with them. And some of those things that we report out at the end of the year is how many students are going to college, how many are going to a trade. So I think we had about 70-something% of NYCP students who come. I think it might be higher. I don't have the exact number, actually. I don't want to say a number. But it was very, very high of the percentage of students who completed their FAFSA, also who were going to college. We had a class at Newark Tech that was 100% going to college.
Oh, wow.
So we are able to report those next steps directly to NYCP on where all of their seniors are going right after high school. And for some who may not have a plan, or for some who may still be like, oh, I don't know. We help them decide and we help them create that plan with them. So we spend a lot of time with the seniors, specifically making sure that they have a next step identified.
That's fantastic.
And then,
really good.
and then for the College Success Centers, for the students that are in college, what we did this summer was be able to host a various of workshops online and in person. We actually on Monday just hosted a session where we had about 7 college students come in from Rutgers, and we assisted them with either a HESAA correction, or which Andre assisted them, or we helped them, just update certain stuff. And for one who's starting college in January and needed to do their 2024-2025 FAFSA, we submitted that FAFSA with them on Monday. So we were able to just host events to tell them that, it's still time to fix things. If you need to fix things, there's still some time. And to not feel frustrated, because I can only imagine a college student in their dorm feeling frustrated that they get a request from financial aid office saying, you're on financial hold, all because they might need a correction on FAFSA, so they need assistance still. So that's what we're trying to just find different spaces to be able to host those things. And then our virtual College Success Center hours, which are open Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 3 to 7. Online, they can just log in, and we have had a couple of students also just jump on the Zoom, and Simone, who is amazing and incredible, shout out to Simone, will help them. Or if it's something outrageous that we can't assist them with, of course, we contact Andre and his team.
I'll just speak about what we do now. I mean, right now I'm hosting across the state for school counselors, workshops, and they're like 4 hours long. We've been doing that. They're annual, so they've been going on for many, many years. And we're keeping everybody up to date on what's happening, when it's happening, all the issues that we're seeing, how we're going to resolve them, what's being done to mitigate a lot of stuff, what's going on at the state, some of the changes with our state aid, and how the deadline date for renewal students for the second year, if they got tagged, the tuition aid grant program, what that date is. We got to make sure, reach out to the students. And of course, at HESAA, we do email them. We always want to remind them to please monitor their emails, because the information is very, very important. So we'll send out to them, reminding them that April 15th will be their deadline for the renewal FAFSA. But of course, the new students, we want to get all their FAFSAs in as soon as possible. We want to get their aid awards in as quickly as possible. And the work that everyone does here, obviously, and at our colleges, and just to get that FAFSA in, or that New Jersey alternative application in, let's get it, so we can get these aid packages out to them. And I do foresee the colleges being able to handle this new year much smoother, because they have software vendors that had to shift. The data was changing coming into them. But I think this year coming up, we should have a really nice year. Even though we have a delay in the FAFSA, not October 1st, it's December 1st for the FAFSA for the state. So we just want to let students know that you're going to be able to get it in, it's going to be better, and you're going to get your awards notifications a little bit sooner. So hopefully that'd be great.
Yeah, and I think that is an excellent point, the importance of just pressing forward, right, and to achieve the completion of that FAFSA or the alternative application. And to the point about the universities, they last year made a really concerted push to make sure that the students who needed to do renewals knew about the changes. They shifted some of the deadlines in consultation with HESAA to give them more time to get that information in. But a number of the partners did marketing campaigns on campus that were not just through email, but were also visible on campus. And there are various colleges and universities, I think, that do a really excellent job in that. So that does make a difference. Hearing what the availability is of getting that support virtual, if that is something that is available to students who are renewing FAFSA, then that's something that NCLC would really want to elevate, because that's a great support. What we're finding as we're encountering some of the college students with which we work is that they will have the challenges, they will work to meet with financial aid, but they don't necessarily know what they don't know. They don't necessarily know the question to ask. So my thinking is that getting the support from the College Success Center might minimally enable them to know what kinds of questions to ask and to look for as they are trying to renegotiate or fix the FAFSA that they receive for this year. That makes a difference. But not having that as a burden, having the question of the financial hold, or just knowing that there's a $10,000 gap that they are waiting to have closed, causes a lot of stress within a student. And we see that show up in the classrooms and the inability of the young person to really concentrate and persist because they're stressed about that. So it's really good to hear about those supports being extended to people who are in college. So, absolutely.
And I want to mention too, we just launched last week our Zoom schedule at our HESA hub, financial aid hub. We have FSA ID, New Jersey Alternative app. We have them in Spanish and English. And of course, the FAFSA will start shortly thereafter, but we're doing all these Zooms and they're all on our website. Students, parents can all join in. I know I did one last night. I only had one parent, but we got her all the information she needs, so she's ready to get her 2 children set up. I guess they're twins, going to college this year, and then she'll get her account set up right away so that she's ready for December 1st.
Yeah.
So it's all these great events that we have going on virtually, in person, and then all the training that we're doing. I'm hoping that we can get everybody through this year. So.
Yeah, we're publicizing and elevating those events, and are also speaking with HESA about the possibility of setting up a FAFSA prototype training so that key folks in the community who want to get trained in what the new FAFSA is can actually come and do it, and then sort of know what it is that they're supporting when they're working with the young people. So
absolutely, I think it's so important.
Yeah.
So important.
So I would like to thank everybody for coming out today, sharing all of your expertise, your experience, your knowledge. I think that the students and the families in Newark are definitely benefiting from all of the work that you are doing. So kudos to all of you. Thank you for supporting our students and, just everyone in the city. It's definitely beneficial. And I think it's something that needs to be highlighted. And that's why we have you here today, to show this work and really just inspire others to get involved and to be those support systems that you need, the volunteers and the spaces to help our students really get all of these applications in this year.
Yeah, thank you, partners.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
partners.
thank you. Thanks for having us.